Hello everybody, welcome to the GSMC Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. My name is Samantha Genzer. I'm going to be your show host for you guys. We have a very exciting show for you guys. We have a lot of things to cover because there was a lot of women's sports that happened this weekend. I am so sorry, I was having technical difficulties in the beginning. I don't know if you guys noticed, but the intro video was glitching really bad. I'm hoping that my frame is still not glitching. If it is, let me know. So today we are going to be covering Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese's first matchup, a recap of the U.S. Women's Open, the Xfinity U.S. Gymnastics Championships, a recap and predictions for the Women's Softball World Series, and make sure you stay till the end to hear about the results from the CrossFit Semifinals in the North America East region. Before we begin, I wanted to ask you guys to like and follow our show and to become a part of our show to tip and donate using the link gsmcpodcast.net. This also puts your questions at the top of the list so that we see them and they get answered and right on the air. So if you want to make sure that happens, use the link. Also, this does really help us a lot and we do really appreciate you guys' your support. Once again, the link is gsmcpodcast.net. Okay, now let's get started. I hope you guys enjoy today's content. Okay, first segment, we have two things to discuss about the WNBA. We're going to talk about the game between Chicago Sky and Indiana Fever, where Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese went head-to-head. And then we're going to talk about the new league by Nafisa Collier and Brianna Stewart called Unrivaled. We're just going to talk about that really quickly. So let's get started on the main topic with the WNBA today, talking about the Sky v Fever game. The game ended in a score of 71-70 with the Fever winning. This was a huge win for the Fever. They haven't had a great record so far, as we know, so this is really great for them to get a win. But this game was particularly interesting because, boy, it got heated and physical. It was a full house at the Cambridge Fieldhouse in Indianapolis for the first WNBA match between Reese and Clark, and they picked up right where they left things off in college regarding their rivalry. So in the third quarter is where things got super heated. In the third quarter, Clark was waiting for an inbound pass, and out of nowhere, Chennedy Carter shoved Clark hard enough to send her crashing into the floor, and then Reese was on the bench at the time, but jumped up out of her seat, applauding in response to the foul. The two guards have been going back and back for a few possessions earlier in the frame, but there was no apparent reason for Carter to escalate the situation to such a hard foul. The referees briefly reviewed the incident but did not upgrade it to a flagrant foul or technical. They did, however, deem it an away from the play foul because it had happened before the ball was inbounded, if that makes sense. After the game, Carter refused to answer questions about what happened. Clark, for her part, called it, quote, not a basketball play during her in-game interview between the third and fourth quarters and didn't have much more to say following the game. Clark did, however, expand on her feelings about the overall physicality she's dealing with to start her career. Earlier in the week, she expressed frustration with what she views as a double standard when it comes to contact from opponents. In the week of the dust up with Carter, she gave some insight into how she tries to handle those events during the games, and she said, and I'm quoting, "It is what it is. I feel like I'm just doing at the point where you accept it and don't retaliate. Just let them hit you, be what it is. Don't let it get in your head and know what's coming. I think at this point, I know I'm going to take a couple hard shots a game, and that's what it is. I'm trying not to let it bother me and just stay in the game and stay in what's important, because usually it's the second person that gets caught if you retaliate or something. I'm just trying to stay in the game and focus on my team and focus on what's important." And then, in response to this entire foul, Fever head coach Christy Sides called Carter's foul unacceptable on social media and said something has to be done. Now, I agree. This wasn't a basketball foul, if that makes sense. This seemed more personal rather than just a foul. It seemed quite unnecessary. It just was really shocking. And it does seem that Caitlin Clark was getting targeted in this instance because everything was fine before this, and then it just was this huge foul that just an elbow, it just didn't make sense, and it seemed very personal rather than a basketball play or just being aggressive while playing. This was just completely different, I felt like, and it was quite shocking. Now, I do want to touch on some other points from the game. So back to the game. After the Fever built a 9-point lead late in the fourth quarter, it seemed they would coast to victory. Instead, the Sky came storming back and had a chance to tie the game in the closing seconds when Marina Mabrey was fouled by Melissa Smith. Mowbray only made one of her 2 free throws, however, and the Fever ran out of the clock on the other end to ensure they escaped. Clark, who made her first 2 3-pointers but went cold the rest of the way, finished with 11 points, 8 rebounds, and 6 assists. She got plenty of help in this one as Kelsey Mitchell led the team with 18 points, Smith went for 17 points and 9 rebounds, and Aaliyah Boston added 10 points, 8 rebounds, and 4 blocks. Now on the other side, Angel Reese just missed out on a double-double and registered 8 points and 13 rebounds. Carmela Cardoso, who was making her return from a shoulder injury she suffered in training camp, was limited to 18 minutes but was highly efficient when she was on the floor. She went for 11 points and 6 rebounds on 5 of 7 shooting. This guy got a nice boost from Chennedy Carter, who came off the bench to put up 19 points and 6 assists. At the end of the game, Clark joined Sabrina Ionescu as the only players to tally at least 150 points, 50 rebounds, and 50 assists in their first 10 games. Due to injury, it did take Ionescu 2 seasons to accomplish that, but Clark is the first player to do it all in her rookie campaign. Clark is up to 169 points, 54 rebounds, and 65 assists for this season. The Fever played more games than any other team, so it is hard to compare stats to other players, but it is still impressive how successful she has been. I don't know. I am very shocked by the whole entire foul situation, and what also makes me quite shocked is the fact that Angel Reese stood up and clapped for her teammate. It just seemed very unprofessional. It was like, really, like, what are we doing here? I was quite disappointed how this game went in the end, just because, I mean, I think it was a good win. It was a good game, but I'm just disappointed in how some people reacted to the foul and how the foul went, like all of that, and also the fact that the referees I feel like they didn't do enough, really. I could spend an entire hour talking about this game, to be honest, but I also wanted to touch a little bit more on Camila Cardoso because this was her first actual season game. She had an impressive start to her first preseason game, but she had to stop playing due to a shoulder injury, and then the team then announced that she would be out for the next 4 to 6 weeks, but thankfully she beat her timeline and made her debut at Saturday's game. She played 18 minutes, like I said, and she did really well, especially considering she just got back from an injury. Late in the first quarter, Cardoso jumped above everyone else to grab a lob pass from Carter under the basket. Cardoso just missed 2 shots all game, finishing with 11.6 rebounds. So she did really good. She really, really impressed me with her play. This was her first time coming back, and her first rookie debut game, even though it seems like so late into the season to say it's a rookie debut, but it is technically. This game was very heated. I feel like there was some passion behind every single player in a way, if that makes sense. But I could keep talking about this. I would love to. But we're now going to transition to talking about some happier news here in the world of professional basketball. So Brianna Stewart and Nafisa Collier, 2 former UConn players, formed a 3-on-3 league called Unrivaled, which is set to debut in January. All salaries are meant to be 6 figures, which will make this league the highest average salaries in women's professional sports league history, and players will also have an equity stake in the league. Stewart said that compensation was key for players, many of whom have spent their offseason overseas supplementing their WNBA incomes. The average WNBA base salary is about $130,000, with the top stars able to earn more than $500,000 through salary, marketing agreements, and an in-season tournament and bonuses. The league, which was first announced last summer, will run for 8 weeks with the 30 players divided into 6 teams. The squad will play 2 games a week, with the contest taking place on a court about 2/3 the size of a WNBA one. The teams will stay the same throughout the season. Games will be 4 quarters long, with less time in each quarter than a WNBA contest. Unrivaled president Alex Bazell said the rules will be released later, so hopefully we'll be, getting all that soon. The rosters will also be announced later, and that is probably what I'm most excited to hear about. But Stewart and Collier, they both said that a few WNBA All-Stars have already signed on. Players will be housed about 15 minutes from the facility, which is a sound stage in Miami that's being built up. Collier also said that there will be weight rooms and recovery rooms so players can take care of themselves. And the league also added a strong group of investors to fund the launch. They include Carmelo Anthony, Alex Morgan, Megan Rapinoe, Michelle Y. West, Ashton Kutcher, Steve Nash, and Gino Aroma. Stewart said that the league has come a long way since the initial dinner 2 years ago when the idea of the league was first pitched, I guess. Collier said, and I'm quoting, "Compensation is a huge part of Unrivaled as a league and a business. All the players in this first year will have equity in the league. For players to have a piece of the pie essentially to grow their general wealth is something we're really excited about." And then Stewart said, "It's amazing not only for the salaries to be similar or more than your WNBA salary, but to be able to build brand partnerships that can't come into the W or the NBA. It's more than just an initial salary, but showing these companies who you are as a player." And then later she also said, "There's nothing not to like about it. The only thing people are scared of is that it's its first year." And yeah, that's true. I mean, everybody's going to have their words considering this isn't its first year, of course. But I'm excited to see how this league goes, and I'm hoping that we get to know more information about it soon. There hasn't been much released about it considering like rosters and all of like the intricate details. So once we get that out, I'll definitely make sure to keep you guys in touch with that. It's very, very big news for the WNBA. I think this will be a great opportunity for people during the off season to practice with their teammates and with other teammates as well. So we're now going to move on to our next segment where we'll talk about the U.S. Women's Open. Before we get into that, we are going to be taking a very short break. So I will see you guys very soon.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown, get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits. I'm losing shit, a stupid myth. You choose to live or choose to dip. You choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind?
Hello everybody, welcome back to the GSMC Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. We just got done talking about some WNBA updates with Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese's teams going head-to-head, and also the new league formed by Napheesa Collier and Breanna Stewart. Now, in this segment, we're going to talk about the results from the U.S. Women's Open that took place from May 30th to June 2nd. We covered the first round in Friday's episode, and now we're going to be covering the entire competition, the results, recap, all of that. Before we get started, I wanted to ask you guys to like and subscribe to the show, and to also become a part of our show to tip and donate using the link gsmcpodcast.net. Also, we get a lot of comments and questions during the show, so make sure you use this link to get your questions and comments at the top of the list so that they get read and answered on the air. Once again, the link is gsmcpodcast.net. And also, make sure you guys stay till the end because we have a very exciting segment where we're going to be talking about the CrossFit Semifinals in North America East region. Yes, that means that Tia Claire Toomey was there, so we have a lot to cover there. Okay, we're just going to get right into all of this competition. So, oops, sorry about that, guys. Okay, so Yuko Saso won the competition at the Lancaster Country Club, and this means that she became the first player in USGA history to win the Open on multiple occasions and for 2 different countries. Saso first claimed the title 3 years ago at the Olympic Club in California, and she was representing the Philippines at this time. And then a few months later, she switched national allegiances to Japan. Now at the Open, Saso carded a 2 under 68 for a 72 hole, total of 4 under 276, 3 strokes better than countrywoman and 2019 AIG Women's British Open champion Hynak. Oh my gosh, guys, I'm just saying right here, I'm gonna butcher these names so bad, and I have tried so hard. I'm telling you, I'm so bad at pronouncing names, so I really apologize. British Open champion Hinako Shibunu. Oh my gosh, guys, I'm so sorry. I'm so bad at names. It's so bad. I sincerely apologize. Hinako Shibuno. Okay, Americans Andrea Lee and Allie Ewing, both past USA Curtis Cup competitors, shared third at even par 280. Ewing matched the week's lowest round with a 66, while Lee carded a 75. And then our PGA U-Bowl carded a 69 to finish solo fifth at 1 over 281. The surprise came from Minjee Lee, the 2022 champion, who seemed poised to add a third major title. But she just never gained any momentum after an opening hole birdie, shooting a 78 to 9th at 283. It was her highest round in the U.S. Women's Open since a third round 80 in 2018 at Shoal Creek. And then Michai also faded from view with 2 consecutive 3-putt bogeys to start the day. She fired a 77 to share 6th at 2 over 282 with countrywoman Athaya Thitikul and Japan's Ayaka Furu. Meanwhile, Saso, who matched in B Parks as the youngest champion in U.S. Women's Open history in 2021 at 19 years old, became the youngest to win multiple titles at 22 years old. Now, going back to the actual meet, let me just first say that I was quite shocked on Minjee Lee's performance. I did think that she would place higher. I remember saying in my Friday show that I don't think that Saso is going to come out on top. And now looking at this, I'm actually so stupid for saying that. Bad prediction on me. But I really thought that Minjee Lee was going to be a huge competitor for her. And Saso just completely crushed her, which I don't know. I feel like golf always surprises me just because, I don't know. Golf is one of those that I'm like, oh, someone else won. Okay, did not see that one coming. But that's just a me thing and bad predictions. But anyway, back to the actual meet. Saso appeared to lose control of any momentum on the par 3 6th hole with an uncharacteristic 4-putt that led to a double bogey. That would be her lone blemish until number 17, while the other 5 players in the last 3 groupings shot a combined 24 over par. Saso settled down with 5 consecutive pars before making a charge on the back 9. It started with 11-foot birdie on the par 3 12th, a hole that derailed more than a few players this week, including a 10 by world number 1 Nelly Korda in Thursday's first round and a double bogey 5 by Minjee Lee on Sunday. Now, I did talk about Nelly Korda in Friday's show because she is number 1 right now, and also she is going to the Olympics. She has been an Olympic champion. She's very, very worldly known. So she did not have a good round on Thursday, the first day. And she just was not able to really keep up after that pretty much. But I'll show the final scores at the end of the segment. So moving on, Saso followed that whole thing up with an exquisite wedge approach from 77 yards to 3 feet on the par 5 13th hole. 2 holes later, her approach from 190 yards stopped 6 feet from the hole for another birdie, giving her to 4 under par and a 2-shot lead on the field. With the tees moved up on number 16 to make it a drivable par 4, Saso found the putting surface with a 237-yard drive to 19 feet, setting up a 2-putt birdie. A rare hiccup on 17, a 3-putt bogey from 37.5 feet, cost her a stroke, but not the champion, clearly. Not the championships, clearly. It was a strange kind of rare hiccup little issue there. But anyway, when Saso, playing in third to last, grouping with the countrywoman Sakura Kawai, holed a 21-inch par putt on the 72nd hole, she gave a small first pump and was then congratulated behind the 18th green from In-Ji Chung, 2015 champion at Lancaster Country Club, who stuck around despite missing the 36-hole cut. Saso said, "It feels great. I think winning in 2021, I represented the Philippines. I feel like I was able to give back to my mom. This year I was able to represent Japan, and I think I was able to give back to my dad. I'm very happy that I was able to do it. It's just a wonderful feeling that I was able to give back to my parents in the same way." This was now another disappointing USGA setback for Andrea Lee, who first played in this championship 10 years ago, and as a 15-year-old. In 17 USGA events, she's been a runner-up in the 2016 U.S. Girls Junior semifinalist, twice in the 2014 and 2019 U.S. Women's Amateur, a quarterfinalist 3 times in the 2014, 2015 U.S. Girls Junior, and 2016 U.S. Women's Amateur, and now third in her 6th U.S. Women's Open. This on top of being a former world number 1 amateur, a 2-time Curtis Cupper, and a member of a women's world amateur team, along with 9 victories during her time at Stanford University. Now, last year she played on her first U.S. Solheim Cup team, but here's the thing, Lee missed a 4-foot par putt on the opening hole and made a double bogey 6 on the 4th hole after finding the penalty area off the tee. Another bogey on 8th dropped her to 4 over on the day and 1 under for the championship. A 16-foot birdie on the par 3 12th provided some hope for a rally, but she failed to birdie 16 and bogeyed the final 2 holes, including a 5 at the last that could have earned her $1 million payday and a better position in total. Now, Lee said, "This was my first time being in the last group of major championship, both the 3rd and 4th rounds. I was extremely nervous, but I feel like I learned a lot about how to control my emotions out here. Definitely a lot of positives to take away. I feel like this is only going to make me stronger in the long run and give me some confidence going into the rest of the season." She was very nervous, I think, and that's kind of what got to her. Golf can be very mental, a very mental game, if that makes sense. And I think that's basically what happened to Lee in this, in certain rounds especially. She still did great, but this wasn't her best placement ever, clearly. So now by finishing among the top 10 in ties, qualifiers with Chennedy Michai and Arapaya Ubol both earn exemptions into the 2025 U.S. Women's Open at Erin Hills. Also, USA Olympic archer Cassie Kaufhold, a Lancaster native, was in attendance on Sunday, and she competed in the 2020 Tokyo Games and has qualified to compete again this summer in Paris. The battle for low amateur honors ended in a 3-way tie at 12 over 292 between reigning U.S. amateur champion Megan Schofield, 2024 U.S. Women's Amateur 4-ball champion and U.S. National Junior Team member Astrid Talley, and University of Southern California rising sophomore Catherine Park. The only other low amateur from USC was Jennifer Song in 2007 and 2009. Schofield is the first from Auburn University, and Talley is a 15-year-old high school freshman. So that's pretty insane when you think about that. I also wanted to mention another quote from Saso. She said, "Since 2021, I haven't won. I think it just makes it special because after a long wait, I wasn't expecting to win the U.S. Women's Open. I think that's why it made me a bit emotional. Winning just makes you look back on all the things that your family and your team and my sponsors, they supported me throughout, good or bad." So just to lay this out, make it all clear, I'm going to just put out the final scores and everything because, I don't know, it helps me when I look at scores like this. So Yuko Saso, she was at the top and she had a total of 276. And I'm just going here to the top 16. At second was this, I literally don't know why I can't pronounce her name. I feel so bad. Hinako Shibuno with a score of 279. At third was 280 with Ali Ewing and Andrea Lee. At fifth was 281 with Arpichia Ubol. Sixth with a tied score of 282, and that was Ayaka Ferru, Athena Thitical, and Wachani Michai. Tied at ninth with a score of 283 was Ryo Takeda, Sakura Kaiwa, and Minji Lee. With a score of 284, tied at 12th was Hojo Kim, Mayu Yamashita, Ryoni Yen, and Jim Yi Im. Last with a score of 285, tied at 16th was Hannah Green, Alim Kim, and Mai Hyang Lee. I didn't mention this before, but I was quite shocked with how Hannah Green plays, just because she has that reputation, and also she has done a lot better in the not beginning of this year, but in April, she did a lot better. I didn't really know she still did great, don't get me wrong, but I definitely was quite shocked to see her the slow. I thought she would have done better in this tournament. It still was great for her. I'm not saying this wasn't a good competition for her. I need to make that clear when I say that. But yeah, there was definitely some things that I was shocked here, but this was a really good win for Yuko Saso. And as you can see, everyone's scores are so close, but she was 3 points ahead of the second place position. So that just shows that she was just more of a fierce competitor and contender than a lot of other people. She just had it. Like, she just took the lead, really. So we're now going to move on to our next segment where we're going to talk about the Xfinity U.S. Gymnastics Championships. I'm very excited to talk about this. You guys need to stay tuned for this. Before we get into that, we are going to be taking another very short break. So I will see you guys very soon.
Looking for your daily fix of sports talk without having to pay for it? GSMC Sports Network is available on YouTube. Just search GSMC Sports Network. Get your fix of daily sports talk shows on YouTube, absolutely free. NFL, college football, NBA, MLB, MMA, UFC, fantasy football, and so much more. GSMC Sports Network has shows running all day long, with new sports shows starting every 2 hours. Just like on your favorite cable sports channel, except GSMC Sports Network is absolutely free. Just search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube to catch one of your new favorite shows, like the GSMC College Football Podcast, Chip Shot Football Podcast, Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, GSMC Basketball Podcast, and so many more. Check it out for yourself. GSMC Sports Network, now available on YouTube absolutely free. Search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube right now.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the GSMC Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. We just got done talking about the U.S. Women's Open with Yuko Saso taking the lead, and we are now going to talk about the Xfinity U.S. Gymnastics Championships. Now, this is my favorite segment of today. Well, I guess tied with segment 5 about the CrossFit Semifinals, which you guys definitely should stay tuned for. It's also one of my favorites, but this is particularly a favorite because I attended the meet yesterday. It was, oh my gosh, it was such an amazing experience. I took a bunch of videos, so if you're interested in seeing those videos, you should go check out our YouTube shorts on the GSMC Sports Network YouTube channel. You will not want to miss out on those. I had a good view, so took some good videos. Before we start recapping, I just wanted to say that if you have a chance to go to a professional gymnastics meet like this one, please go. You will not want to miss it. This was such an amazing experience, and literally seeing those gymnasts up so close, performing so close, is just a whole nother experience and a whole nother perspective. So I'm just saying, just go to a meet like that, like please, even like a college meet, like go. It's so insane how amazing these gymnasts are, and I am very lucky and grateful that I got the opportunity to go. Okay, so now let's get into the actual meet here. So if you finish in the all-around at first and second place, you automatically get to go to the Olympic trials. And during the meet, people from the selection committee are there to figure out who they want to invite to the trials. They have to invite a minimum of 12 people. I'm thinking about making a segment in the future on who I think is going to be invited in the trials, so let me know if that would be something y'all are interested in hearing about. So now let me tell you guys how the meet went. Absolutely no shocker here. Simone Biles won the all-around, but she didn't just place first in the all-around. She also placed first in the vault, uneven bars, balance beam, and floor. That's absolutely insane. This isn't her first time winning the U.S. Championships in the all-around. She also won last year in 2021, 2019, 2018, 2016, 2015, 2014, and 2013. So this is not a shocker that she won here. It was really great watching her because, gosh, she's like so speedy and she has like so much power, but like is graceful at the same time. Like I can't, like she's insane. So anyway, so the senior women, they compete twice in the competition and then they combine the scores and that's how they figure out who wins. Now, because I was there yesterday, which was the second time they all competed, I'm really just going to focus on the details of people's performances from then, just because, it's fresh in my mind and because I literally got to see them compete so close. So just wanted to put that disclaimer out there. I also did watch videos and clips and everything from the first day as well, but I apologize if I am focusing a lot on the second day. Also, the second day was kind of more interesting. There were definitely some like falls and like deductions that you wouldn't expect to happen. So just putting that out there. Anyway, okay. Simone Biles finished with an all-around score of 119.75. She technically did better on her first day, getting a total score of 60.845 on her first day and then 59.3 on the second day. Still, her scores on the second day were just so much higher than everyone else's. I mean, she literally placed first in all events, so you would think that her scores were just much higher, to be honest. I want to point out in particular Biles' vault scores. Yesterday, she got a total of 15 on the vault, but her first vault, she just had too much power and completely fell backwards. And then the second time she did her vault, she did a different type of skill and had a solid landing with a little step back. But she still had the highest vault score because her difficulty was so dang high. It is so insane to me how she just uses so much speed and force in her vault, and then despite sticking the landing or not, she just absolutely dominates everyone else because she does these super challenging skills that not many other people in the competition can do. It just blows me away. Also, her floor routine really stood out to me because she made it look so effortless. She had so many cute performative aspects in the routine, like her landing pose was absolutely amazing and her timing was perfect. She literally would fly in the air and not step out of bounds, so she didn't get any deductions on that part, which has been a bit of a struggle for her in the past, just because, she has so much power and then she flies and then she steps back and then, deduction. That deduction of getting out of bounds on the floor really makes me mad because it's like so frustrating. It's like, seriously, like that's what you took off, like stepping like out of bounds. Anyway, that was not a struggle for her yesterday. And then also leaps were flawless and very oversplit. After the competition, Biles said, "Today is just getting out here and getting comfortable and confident in my gymnastics and hopefully going to Olympic trials and making that next step towards Paris. So I couldn't be more proud of how I'm doing this time of the year and just getting that confidence over and over, getting myself back in front of a crowd and just doing what I do in practice." She was also asked if she was having fun back in gymnastics because, as we know, she was struggling mentally a few years ago, and in response to that, she said, "Yeah, everyone says I look like I'm having fun, so that's good because I feel like most of the time if I'm not stressing or having anxiety, I do feel like I'm having fun, so it's good to have that and feel that again." Moving on to second place was Sky Blakely. This makes me so happy. I think she is going to be a strong competitor in the Olympics, or contender. If she makes a team after the trials, which I have huge confidence that she will, I think she will. She had a combined score of 113.85. Here with Blakely's score, you can really see how Biles dominated the competition. Having a 5-point gap is pretty big, so it's very impressive how far Biles was compared to the second place. Anyway, back to Blakely, she did absolutely amazing in all events, finishing the top 10 in all 4. Her weakest was the floor, but I really liked her routine. Her level of difficulty was very high considering compared to others, but it was just getting out of bounds that messed her up a bit. Other than that, her floor routine was spectacular. I couldn't really point out any other flaws. I mean, like any other like really noticeable flaws. It was just the stepping out of bounds, which kind of put her on deductions for her floor routine. At third was Kayla DiCello. This also makes me so happy. She is so beautiful. She is so graceful on the beam and floor, and she just has that perfect performative face and moves. Her total all-around score was at 110.8, so fairly close to Blakely. She would have had a better chance of getting in second place if her second day went better. Her first day was great, but her second day was not her best in some parts. She had some fumbling moments on the balance beam, which caused her some deductions despite having a good difficulty level, but it was her uneven bars yesterday that got her down a lot. On the first day, she had a score of 14.5 on the uneven bars, which is so good. It was one of the highest scores, but then on the second day, she fell while transitioning from the bars. Once she got back up and dismounted, her landing was flawless and she stuck the landing, but having that fall in the middle was pretty detrimental to her score. There were quite a few people that fell on the balance beam yesterday, but I believe she was the only one that fell on the bars, if I'm remembering correctly, which got my attention a bit because the bars is known to be one of her strongest events, so I didn't expect to see her especially fall on the bars. I don't know what happened, but it definitely, I mean, looking at her score, it didn't ruin it that much. I mean, it wasn't like her best score, but she still was able to place third, so it's okay. You know, if that makes sense. She definitely would have had a better chance of getting in second place if she didn't have that mess up. Anyway, let's now turn our attentions to fourth place, which was Sunisa Lee. Her combined all-around score was 110.65, so super duper close to DiCello. She was the last floor routine yesterday. Let me just say she was an amazing person to put at last because her routine was so flawless. It was like the perfect finale in a musical, and I'm so sorry that is the dorkiest comparison I could have ever made. On the vault yesterday, she had some fumbling. She had some fumbling issues and technically did not do too well, I guess, because of those fumbling issues. Just looking at the scores, she also brought down the level of difficulty. So I don't really know what happened there. I don't know if she had an injury or something. But the reason she was able to place fourth was because of her scores from the previous day, and then also she did amazing on the balance beam and bars. On the second day, she had one of the highest scores for the beam, and her routine was very graceful with a solid dismount. At number 5, this makes me a bit sad in a way. Jordan Childs placed 5th. And the reason I am sad is because I wanted her to place higher, but at the same time, 5th is still amazing, so it's okay. I just felt like she deserved to be in the top 3, but there were some issues in her events yesterday that we were going to talk about. First, I do want to mention something. She is probably one of the most well-liked gymnasts out there, and yesterday it was very clear to me why. I've always loved her because she is so confident and supportive of her teammates. Yesterday it was so clear how supportive of her teammates she is. During Biles' floor routine, Charles would literally run around the mat to cheer on her teammate. Little things like that make a huge difference, especially in the public eye, and I don't know, it just really got me thinking about how amazing gymnasts are so supportive of one another, and also how amazing she would be on the Olympic team, again, because we all know that she would always support her teammates, which is very crucial for an Olympic team if they want to succeed, so she would be perfect. Also, just she is very much like interactive with the crowd, if that makes sense. She does her, what's it called? The World Champion Center is where she is from, which is the same gym that Biles trains at, and that is in Texas, so she had a lot of fans there. Childs did. And she was very interactive with the fans. It was very awesome. So now let's actually talk about how she did. She had a combined score of 110.35, so literally 0.5 less than Sunisa Lee's score, which means that Childs literally could have been 4th place if there were minor fixes and changes or whatnot. On the first day, her floor score was not the best because she had trouble going out of bounds. On the second day, everything was great but the balance beam. She fell during her beam routine, which really hurt her score. She ended up having a really good dismount, but it wasn't a great routine for her considering she did pretty well on the beam on the day before, and had that fall. Other than that, her vault and uneven bar score on both days were so strong. She is such a powerhouse. She stuck the landing on the bars yesterday, and on the vault both days, she literally flew. Also, I want to mention that Childs has that perfect performative aspect in her floor routine that makes her so fun to watch. The little quirks and faces that Biles does in her routine is pretty similar to Childs. Childs and Biles, their last names kind of rhyme. Except Childs makes her more sassy, if that makes sense. She did some fun little moves to the audience. It was just different. It was very performative, and it was so fun to watch. And I actually think that helped her score a lot on the second day. I think it's really awesome that she's like that, for sure. She's not just a professional gymnast, she is a performer at the same time. Though a floor routine is very different from other events, in general, because the gymnasts really put their personalities into it, and especially the gymnastics that are from Childs and the gymnasts that are from Childs and Biles' gyms, which is the World Champion Center. They all have the same, they do their little quirks and personality moves in their routine. So I don't know if that's something that comes from their gym or is taught at their gym, but they very much all have that good characteristics in their floor routine, which I admire so much. So I'm talking so much, and I really wanted to share more information about the meet and how 6th, 7th, and 8th place did. So stay tuned for some other episode because I'm most likely going to be talking about that as well. So we're now going to move on to our next segment where we talk about the Women's Softball World Series. Before we get into that, we are going to be taking a very short break, so I will see you guys very soon.
For the best and latest podcasts available anywhere, go to the podcast app on your cell phone and type in GSMC. To access free content-rich podcasts on health and wellness, book reviews, sports, entertainment, relationships, social media, movies, technology, finance, and even weird news. Subscribe and download the GSMC Podcast Network's family of shows, available everywhere podcasts are found.
Welcome back, everybody, to the GSMC Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. We just got done talking about the Xfinity U.S. Gymnastics Championships, where Simone Biles placed first. And now we are going to be diving into the Softball World Series. We're going to be doing some game recaps and predictions. So there is a game tonight, so we'll be doing the predictions on the game tonight. The game tonight is actually taking place right now, supposedly. So we'll get into that. I'll talk about that later. We have a lot to get through on this, so I'm just going to dive right into Game 5 so we can just, get started and make sure we have time to talk about all this. So in Game 5, I don't know why I just said it like that. That was a weird pattern I had in my voice. That was really weird. Okay, in Game 5, Alabama and Duke went head-to-head, and I thought this game was going to be close and that Alabama would come in and top. I was correct. Yay! I'm really happy for Alabama because they came into the World Series as sort of the underdogs, and by beating Duke, they show that maybe their seed at 14th wasn't the right place for them. The final score was 2-1. Alabama showed up strong from the start of the first inning. They got their first point then, and then Duke caught up in the second inning, making the score a tie at 1-1. Till the fifth inning, it was pretty uneventful. Both teams got either 1 or 0 hits when they were on offense, so there just wasn't much luck for either side. During the sixth inning, Alabama got their second point, and Duke just was not able to secure another point and ended up losing. It was a disappointing loss for Duke, but a great game for Alabama. Kalea Cahalan and Marley Gills got the runs for Alabama, and a goal got the run for Duke. Alabama's pitchers just did a lot better than Duke's pitcher, who was Cassidy Curd. Curd didn't get any strikeouts, but Jocelyn Brisky and Kayla Beaver were able to get a total of 5 strikeouts for Alabama. Having the both of them benefited the team since they were able to switch out after getting tired and such. During Friday's video, where I talked about my predictions in this game, I specified that I think Alabama has the advantage here of having Brisky pitch, since it will help out Beaver a lot, and also just having another amazing pitcher is always going to do more good than harm. Typically, this was a really good game for Brisky. She's a freshman, so I'm happy that she was able to have a performance like this at her first World Series. Moving on to Game 6, Stanford crushed Oklahoma State 8-0. I did not think this game was going to be such a blowout. Stanford pitchers Jerry Kennedy was an absolute beast, like always. She had a total of 7 strikeouts, and most of her pitches were so perfectly on target and controlled, yet strong and fast. In my opinion, she is one of the best pitchers in the league. On the other side, Lexi Kilfoyle and Ivy Rosenberry pitched for OSU, and they did very well combined, but I think that what really helped Stanford was their defense, given that they have such a good pitcher, and then also Stanford was really strong offensively. Danny Hayes, Kylan Cooch, and Jade Berry, River Marlier, Ava Gal, and Caitlin Lim each had 1 run, and then Aiken Ashera had 2 runs. Gal and Lim both had a home run. Stanford just really dominated the game, and I didn't really realize how insanely good they would do against OSU. It makes sense, don't get me wrong, but I just didn't think the score was going to go up that high. So, really good game for Stanford. Now, moving on to Game 7, this was probably one of the best, most interesting games of the series yet. The University of Oklahoma, what even is that? Oklahoma beat UCLA 1-0. Kelly Maxwell was nearly untouchable for Oklahoma, allowing just 2 hits and striking out 11 batters over a full 7 innings. UCLA had chances, including a threat in the 3rd inning with 2 runners on base and no one out, but those opportunities were largely self-inflicted by Maxwell between walks and hit batters. She never let the Bruins take advantage, and UCLA's offense wasn't able to gather any momentum in the late innings despite needing just 1 run to extend the game. The heart of UCLA's lineup was shut down in the loss, with Maya Brady and Charlize Palacios finishing a combined 0 for 7. This game was a really good way to predict how the game today would have gone with University of Oklahoma. I did not think it was going to be this close. So it'll make sense why I'm saying that. Okay, next game here is which was also on Saturday, Florida v. UT Austin game, where UT absolutely crushed Florida with a score of 10-0. A 5-run first inning set the tone for the top-seeded Longhorns. Keegan Rothrock drew the start again for the Gators after a stellar outing on Thursdays against OSU. However, she just didn't last long on Saturday, as the Gators coach Tim Walton removed her after 14 pitches once Texas went up 2-0, and then Ava Brown silenced Texas' lethal lineup across the 2nd and 3rd innings until the 4th, when the Gators' freshman pitcher found herself in trouble with 2 outs. The Longhorns put another 5 spot on Florida in the inning, coming off 2 home runs and a single. The Gators struggled offensively all night against Longhorns pitcher Mac Morgan, who took a no-hitter into the 5th inning. Katie Keisler broke up the no-hitter with the Gators' first hit of the night as she singled into right field to lead off the inning. In conclusion here, if you only have time to watch highlights of the entire game, I kind of recommend choosing this game to watch if you're like interested in seeing a lot of scoring and really good hits, because this game clearly had it. So now let's talk about Game 9 from Sunday. Alabama beat Florida. The final score was 6-4 with Florida winning. Alabama made a move to bring in a new pitcher, Alia Johnson, who had to face star Florida slugger Jocelyn Erickson in the top of the 6th. Erickson cranked the 1-1 pitch to straightaway center for a 3-run homer, pushing Florida's lead up to 2-6. Florida's lead 2-6, my bad. The Gators surrendered a pair of runs in the bottom half, but Keegan Rothrock pitched a 1-2-3 7th, capping off a complete game and delivering the 6-4 win for Florida, which kept their season alive, which also sends the Gators to the semifinals of the World Series. This game really marked a turnaround for the past 2 World Series for Florida. Florida mustered only 1 run and 3 hits over the first 2 games in Oklahoma City, as the offense was largely stymied by Oklahoma State and UT Austin. The Gators had 4 hits and 2 runs through the first 3 innings of the game, scoring the first run on an RBI single to right center to tie the game at 1-1. A fielder's choice then gave Florida the lead, but then a walk to hit her? Did I say hit her or hit her? That was so weird. I'm so sorry, guys. I'm losing my mind. But then a walk to hit her, Lauren Johnson, and a bunt single to Kristen White gave Alabama a pair of runners on with no one out. 2 batters left. Marley Gills drove a base hit over the middle to tie the game back at 2. Alabama brought in a new pitcher, Jocelyn Brisky, to face the Heart of Florida lineup in the top of the 5th. That Gator stretch gave her a rude welcome as Corb Otis reached on a single. Erickson walked and Regan Walsh drove a hit up the middle to give Florida the 3-2 lead. Erickson's 3-run homer the next inning gave the Gators all the comfort room they needed to hold on, and then Florida would now advance to face number 2 Oklahoma, the winners of each of the past 3 national championships, in the semifinals, which took place today. So they technically would have to go 2-0 to advance to the College World Series finals. I'm like very confused on how all of that works. And if I did have the time to explain it, I would, but they would technically have to beat Oklahoma University 2 times, technically, something like that. It's very confusing, but basically just know that they now, after this win at Alabama, they have the stress of now having to go against University of Oklahoma, who had won 3 world championships already. So now, moving on to Game 10, which also took place yesterday. Stanford beat UCLA in a final score of 3-1. The Bruins struck first with a Megan Grant Solar homer in the second, but the bats were quiet immediately after. Stanford took the lead in the third with Taryn Kern's double and Ava Gau's single, each of which scored a run. Stanford added to its lead in the 5th when Emily Jones had 2 hits and 2 runs that scored. Once again, Najeri Kennedy, Stanford's star pitcher, was as efficient as she could be in her 7th straight game. She allowed just 4 hits and 1 run while striking out 8 batters. To advance to the finals, Stanford has to defeat Texas twice, which takes place tonight. And I'm going to be giving my predictions for that game at the end of this segment. So the last recap is from the game today, and this one was the best game to watch, okay? Now, this has a high score too, so you know what, if you like high scores, this is interesting for you too as well. Okay, oh my gosh, this was such a shocker. Florida and Oklahoma went head-to-head, and Florida beat Oklahoma in the final score of 9-2. The OU softball team's 20-game win streak in the WCWS, or World Series, came to a crashing end here. Keegan Rothrock worked around a little bit of trouble, but the Florida ace finished up a complete game victory to set up a rematch. In the end of the 6th inning, Keaston Deal retired the first 2 batters before giving way to Carly Kenny, who got a strikeout to finish off OU's first scoreless inning in the day. Just based on records, this was really bad for Oklahoma to lose this game. They had won 3 World Series, and they lost their chance to make it 4th with this loss. But on the brighter side, now the finals is going to be so much more interesting, considering that there might be another team in here. So, I mean, it's a good thing and a bad thing. Bad thing for Oklahoma, but great thing for Florida. I am not very much like, how do I say this? I am very much rooting for certain teams, but Florida and Oklahoma, okay, I'm not like particularly rooting for any of these two teams, if that makes sense. Like, I'm not like in favor for either. Like, I would like to see both of them there at the finals, if that was possible. So that's what I'm saying. But also at the same time, like, I would like to see University of Oklahoma win their 4th time in a row. Like, that would be insane for them to do that. But also I like to see Florida as sort of the underdogs in this matchup come out on top when Oklahoma could have won their 4th time. So I don't know, very interesting. Anyway, let's move on for recaps and talk about predictions here. The next game is UT Austin v Stanford, and to reach this championship series, you have to win this game. This game is taking place right now, but I have not looked at the scores or anything, so I'm truly making an honest prediction here, and I hope this isn't embarrassing if I am just completely wrong, so I apologize. Also, yeah, I believe this game is at 7:30 or 7 p.m. Eastern time, so, oh wait, maybe it should be over by now. I don't know. The thing with softball games is you never know how long they are going to take, I feel like. And also, there was some delaying in some games, so I'm just, like, not trusting the times anymore for those. But I have not checked the scores or anything, so I want to make that clear. Anyway, UT Austin will once again have to face Stanford, which means they will face Chennedy, who literally was a huge threat to the Longhorn team at the opener last week. So let's take a look at this matchup. Once again, Texas has looked every bit the top-seeded team in the tournament while beating Stanford and Florida by a combined score of 14-0. After freshman Tegan Cabin shut out Stanford 4-0 in the opener Thursday, Mac Morton followed with a one-hit gem against Florida in a game shortened to 5 innings by the Mercy rule. In 3 starts in the NCAA tournament, Morgan has 3 wins and has allowed a total of 6 hits and 2 runs over 17 and a third innings. I was like about to sneeze in the middle of that. I'm so sorry. Cabin will likely get to start against Stanford, even though Texas coach Mike White won't let his players know the start until Monday. Well, at the time when I was making this, Monday, he wasn't supposed to let them know until the beginning of the game, if that makes sense. I'm so sorry. This is like confusing to explain on predictions when the game is literally happening right now. But like, just pretend the game is happening at like 10 p.m. today or something, so it makes sense why I'm talking about it, I guess. I don't know. In her World Series debut, Cabin allowed just 1 hit while striking out 8 Stanford batters and improved to 19-2 on the season. So they have that advantage there. Stanford has a mediocre offense that ranks in the lower half of most Pac-12 offensive categories all season, but Chennedy herself makes Stanford a contender. Chennedy has entered the World Series leading in strikeouts and ERA, and in the 3 World Series games Stanford has played so far, she has only allowed 12 hits and 5 runs in 19 total innings. That's insane. So having Chennedy really gives Stanford a chance against UT Austin, but I don't think they will come out with a win. I think Texas will win this game if they can go out super strong offensively and defensively. If they struggle on either side, I think it's going to be such a close matchup. But I do think that they're going to come out on top. Now, we're going to move on to our next segment where we talk about the results from the CrossFit Semifinals in the North America East region. Before we get into that, we are going to be taking a very short break, so I will see you guys very soon. Welcome back. Oh, so sorry, guys. Welcome back. It's Monday, guys. It's Monday. Welcome back, everybody, to the GSMC Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. We just got done talking about the Softball World Series, some game recaps and predictions for tonight's game. We are now going to talk about the CrossFit Semifinals, specifically the North American East region recap. So week 3 was the North American East, South America, and Africa semifinals. So we're just going to talk about North America East semifinals, like for time purposes, where the top 11 athletes qualified to the games. So we're going to talk about the results from the Africa and South America regions in another episode this week, so make sure you stay tuned for that. So we're just going to dive right ahead into this. Okay, at first, absolutely no surprise here was Tia-Clair Toomey. We all saw this coming. She absolutely dominated the competition, and I honestly think she might have a huge chance of winning the whole games. She placed first in every single event, but one where she placed third in event 4. So I put up the workouts on the left here just so it makes sense when I mention the times. Okay, so let's start talking about Tia-Clair Toomey's first place position. In workout 1, which is 5 rounds of 800-meter run and 10 clean and jerks, she had a time of 20 minutes and 56.25 seconds. And then in workout 2, which is 5 rounds of 100 double unders, 20 toes to bars, and 10 front squats, she clocked a time of 11 minutes and 26.58 seconds. Workout 3 was 7 rounds of 10-calorie echo bike, a legless rope climb, 10 box jump overs, and then another legless rope climb. Toomey clocked a time of 10 minutes and 33 seconds in this event. And then the fourth event, the only event where she didn't place first and instead placed third, which is still amazing, Toomey finished with a time of 8 minutes and 41.22 seconds. This event consisted of 400-meter row, 96-foot handstand walk, 600-meter row, 120-foot handstand walk, and 800-meter row. The 72-foot handstand walk at the end as well. So, and then in the fifth event, the workout was 10 squat snatches to 8 squat snatches. Oh my gosh, this is such like a, what's it called when something is, oh my gosh, what's the word called where you're like Irish wristwatch? Like, what are those called? Oh my gosh, wait, this is gonna make me so mad. Anyway, this workout is one of those tongue twisters. It's a tongue twister, there you go, okay. 10 squat snatches to 8 squat snatches to 6 squat snatches to 4 squat snatches and then to 2 squat snatches. Toomey finished with a time of 5 minutes and 2.60 seconds. Lastly, in the sixth event, the workout was 30-calorie echo bike, 15 muscle ups, and a 72-foot dumbbell walking lunges, and Toomey got a time of 2 minutes and 57.46 seconds. Let me get into some more details of the competition. The third heat in event 4 showcased a neck-and-neck battle between two women who really needed top performances, Brooke Wells and Anika Greer. Wells entered the day in the dangerous 11th place position, while Greer was on the outside looking in the 14th overall. The two were within the second of each other the entire race until the final 800-meter row, when Wells pulled a few seconds ahead before sprinting her final handstand walk, finishing 5 seconds before Greer. These performances held up for second and fourth in the event, helping Wells jump into a safer position in 6th and pulling Greer into the right side of the cut line, 8th. For the first time all weekend, the final heat, though, belonged to Haley Adams, who added an event win to her pair of second place finishes so far. The win vaulted Adams from 10th into 5th overall. As for Toomey, she stayed as close to Adams as she could throughout the event, but wasn't quite able to match Adams' speed. Still, that's how she did enough for a 3rd place overall finish, if that makes sense. We will also be diving into everyone in the 11th place actual placements in each event as in like a picture so it's clear. Toomey's 3rd place finish, though, it broke her 12 consecutive semifinal event wins dating back to 2021. But if there's one area of the sport that she hasn't typically dominated, it's handstand walking. So to see her finish 3rd in the event actually shows considerable improvement compared to the field. And then Erica Folo, Fee Sapafi, and Caroline Stanley moved in the wrong direction on the leaderboard after event 4. Folo, 28th in the event, dropped from 6th to 11th, while Sahafi, looking to earn her 3rd CrossFit Games invite, dropped to 17th, and Stanley to 14th. Competing in Heat 3, most of the women finished the bike at around the same time, but it was Neely and Folo who were able to go unbroken on the muscle ups and were the first to the walking lunge. But then both Neely and Follow all but collapsed on the walking lunge, receiving multiple no reps. They essentially launched the entire field past them, led by Chloe Gavin David, to be more clear, 20 points out of 11th, who came out of nowhere to take the heat win. Her time held up for a 6th place finish in the event. For silver, it was really a fight between Emma Lawson and Alexis Raptis. So, Alexis Raptis came in second in the end, and this was also really no shocker. I mean, if Emma Lawson came in second, though, too, I wouldn't be shocked at all. Pretty much everyone in this region who qualified for the games is not much of a shocker, to be honest. They all have proved they're strong athletes and are meant to be competing at the games. So, okay, talking about Raptis, though, she placed 11th in the first event with a time of 23 minutes and 12.72 seconds. 5th in the event 2 with a time of 12 minutes and 4.12 seconds. 4th in the third event with a time of 11 minutes and 10.68 seconds. 6th in event 5 with a time of 5 minutes and 36.03 seconds. And 2nd in event 6 with a time of 3 minutes and 3.91 seconds, which is insane that she was that quick. Now, and there was Emma Lawson. So, I mean, for the sake of time, I'm not going to go over the times, but they're still going to be on the screen here. Honestly, if Emma Lawson and Alexis Raptis switched places here, I wouldn't have been shocked. Like, I felt like it really could go either way for them on 2nd and 3rd. So, in event 1, Lawson placed 3rd, 7th in the 2nd event, 3rd in the 3rd event, 12th in the 4th event, 3rd in the 5th event, and 12th in the 6th event. Wow. If Lawson did not place 12th in 2 events, I definitely think she would have been more of a threat to the 2nd place position. She was pretty much right there with Raptis the entire time, and I think it could have gone either way with them, like I said. And it was really just a battle between the two for 2nd and 3rd. 4th and 5th place was not shocking in the end. Danielle Brandon placed 4th, 5th in event 1, 8th in event 2, 7th in event 3, 10th in event 4, 10th in event 5, as well, and 5th in event 6. She had really good positions here, but she was not able to place in the top 3 in any events, which put her back a bit. 5th was Shelby Neal. She was 15th in event 1, 12th in event 2, 12th in event 3, 7th in event 4, 2nd in event 5, and 8th in event 6. Getting 2nd event 6 really boosted her up there. Her other placements were good, don't get me wrong, but not the best. I definitely think she could have done better in some events. But it was her 2nd in event 5 that really helped her there and really made her shine in the competition. Haley Adams was in 6th. Like I said earlier, she placed 2nd in event 1, 35th in event 2, 2nd in event 3, 1st in event 4, 8th in event 5, and 15th in event 6. Okay. So here's the thing. We know she has amazing upper body strength and is really skilled at the rope climb. So she had that advantage in all of the events other than event 2. If she had gotten in a better place in event 2, she would have placed in the top 3, I think. Still being in 6th because still being in 6th is good because she qualifies for the games. But this competition really showed what she needs to focus on and work on in order to get to the top 10 finish at the games, is what I mean by that. But event 4 is where, to me, was unable to finish in the first place position. So Haley Adams really showed that, she has that strength. The opposite kind of, I mean, they have the same gifts and skills and all that I'm saying, but I think it's just interesting how she kind of took that first place position away from Toomey in a way. So Brooke Wells finished in 7th. She finished in 6th. In event 1, 6th in event 2 as well, 26th in event 3, 2nd in event 4, 9th in event 5, and 17th in event 6. So basically, where Toomey was not thriving, which was event 4, is where Wells and Adams were able to catch up. This is really interesting to see if maybe Wells and Adams have more of a chance to possibly beat Toomey or be more competition for in the games, depending on what the workouts are. I mean, it really depends on what the workouts are. Like, if it's more focused on what event 4 is, that sort of strength work and endurance work, then maybe they have a chance to beat Toomey. I don't know. Like, Toomey is Toomey. Like, she's a literal beast in the CrossFit world. So I don't know here, but I think it's interesting to see that they kind of got the places that Toomey was lacking in event 4. Okay, Paige Seminas finished in 8th. She finished in 8th in the first event, 9th in event 2, 6th in event 3, 26th in event 4, 7th in event 5, and 14th in event 6. Event 4 is where she got behind a bit. I think she could have done stronger in that workout. I'm not particularly sure what happened, but I think that she will be more fierce competition in the games than what her time showed in the semifinals. I don't know, I just have that feelings, and based on like her previous performances, I think that she could have gotten better times in some of them. But she still played it safe here, considering that she is going to be at the games. And then in 9th is Chloe Gavon David. Sorry, I'm sorry, I'm so bad at pronouncing last names. Chloe Gavon David. So for 9th, 10th, and 11th, I was a bit surprised and disappointed to not see Anika Greer, Jordan Streck, and Amanda Barnhart in there. Still, the people that ended up in these positions, it makes sense and everything, but I was just a bit shocked to not see those 3 other athletes. Okay, so in 9th, Chloe Gavon David, she finished in 19th in event 1, 18th in event 2, 18th in event 3, 8th in event 4, 14th in event 5, and 6th in event 6. Her placements were good, but they just never were standouts during the semis because she didn't place in the top 5 in any, so you didn't really hear her name. So it was a bit of a shock to see her up there. Still, it's good that she was, able to qualify despite not being in the top 5 in any event. Now at 10th was Caroline Stanley. She got 4th in event 1, 11th in event 2, 16th in event 3, 34th in event 4, 11th in event 5, and 13th in event 6. And then at 11th place was Lexi Neely. I guess having Neely isn't much of a shock, but to be honest, you don't hear much about Stanley, and that's why it was a bit shocking, if that makes sense. I want to be clear, though, that it makes very sense that Stanley is placed 10th. She is very, very strong and naturally athletic, but I was just really surprised to not see some of the other athletes in her position instead. Anyway, back to Neely. She placed 28th in event 1, 2nd in event 2, 14th in event 3, 16th in event 4, 5th in event 5, and 25th in event 6. Her event 2 and event 5 went really smoothly, clearly, and I was impressed with her performance there. I'm very excited to see how these people do in the games. North American East has such tough competition here. All these 11 women are amazing, and I'm very excited to see them compete at the games. I definitely think Tia Claire Toomey has the chance to actually be the winner of the games. I will be getting my predictions sometime in the future of who I think is going to actually win the game, so make sure you stay tuned for that. Okay. That concludes our show for today. Thank you guys for tuning into the GSMC Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. Your support means a lot to us, so please remember to subscribe to the show and leave a positive review. It really does make a difference. We also invite you to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram for more content and updates. Thank you guys once again, and have a wonderful day.
Let's go.